Hello and welcome to Debate Night on Superpower Broadcasting. I'm your host, Kevin Castley. Tonight, we're joined with the adventures of Kevin and Reece. And we're going to debate. We had discussed anti-theism and should be a good one. So with that, the challenger here gets a few minutes to make opening remarks, and then we'll get into free-form debate. So let's go. Tell the audience, I guess, a bit about yourself. I mean, people have seen you in the chat. Some big memes for sure. A classic,
Yeah,
right here. So
yeah, I'm behind the majority of like parody accounts. I would say almost all of them. I mean, unless I've been on if there's been somebody else that's been online some nights when I've been sleeping, but I would say 99% of the time it's been me.
yeah, well, you did Wyoming Weiss. Was that you?
Yeah, that was me.
That's great. That's great. That's great. Oh man. Oh man. Wyoming Weiss. That was a funny one. That one spawned a bunch of different memes. Wyoming Roos was one of them. Bunch of different knockoffs, basically. What else was there? Oh yeah, the four Warhawks of the Apocalypse or something.
Yeah,
That was fun.
yeah, it was sort of like the four horsemen.
Yep.
Hitchens, Harris, Dennis Dawkins, Dennett.
Yeah, I think a favorite of a lot of people was Black Kevin. That one was a big meme.
Yeah, it's something I did with my drawing skills. I mean, I'm really good at MS Paint. I just practice with it a lot.
Oh no, for sure, for sure. These are great. These are great. I can't really do art or anything. Like all the graphics that you're seeing right now, with the exception of your profile picture, are credit to this guy in the chat, R3Zar. So everybody go and subscribe to R3Zar's channel. Also, do you have a YouTube channel by any chance?
Well, I got hundreds of accounts and stuff. I mean, you could always follow me on Twitter at Gagsley, like Gagsley. Until that account gets nuked if I violate the terms of service, because I've been banned like hundreds of times because I get like into so many like dumb arguments with people on Twitter and stuff.
Oh man, I worry about that occurring to my account. So I've taken the Destiny approach. I straight up will just nuke all my tweets every couple weeks at this point, so that the losers
Yeah,
and boozers and the haters and traitors can't latch on to report bait that you forgot you even posted 2 or 3 years ago. So you could always go that route. I'd recommend Tweet Delete as a service because they've worked for me so far, and they let you exclude tweets that you want to keep. So they're pretty good. Otherwise, you can always just make hundreds of new accounts too. But that's the best way. Is just deleting the old tweets. Because
I mean, maybe eventually I'll start like a channel that's more like a home at least. So
yeah.
I don't just do parody accounts. I'm not, let's say I'm not learned like, say, you, I'm not a university. I'm not like somebody who does studies foreign policy and stuff like that. I just, latched onto you with Reece. I mean, all I do for a living is I'm a measly pharmacy technician.
Oh, I used to work as a pharmacy tech for a couple of years actually. It's kind of a
Well,
stressful job. It's kind of a stressful
yeah,
job. So
I think in Canada it's a lot easier and stuff. I mean, you have to get certified here in the States because,
yeah.
well, we don't use the metric system solely here in the
Mm.
States.
That's gotta be annoying. Yeah, no. When I
I
worked as
think
a
that's
pharmacy,
my thesis on why people, we have certification for pharmacy technicians here in the States.
oh, really? Yeah, because of the imperial system. Well, here in Canada, when I was a pharmacy tech, I was never certified, but about 20% of people were roughly. But to my knowledge, it didn't really yield any higher pay. It was still basically minimum wage. And it did require like 6 months or something of schooling. So, but that's how it is in Canada, at least in retail pharmacy. I'm sure in like government pharmacy, it would be probably a much higher rate of certified technicians. So, but we can get into the substance of the debate tonight. So, you reached out to me and said that you had some things that you wanted to debate about with respect to anti-theism. So, feel free, a few minutes opening remarks, make your case on the issues that you've got with anti-theism, because of course Reece and I are pretty prominent anti-theists on YouTube these days. So
Well, I mean, I'd say you've been more recently in like the past like maybe month or so after that whole like debacle with Natalie Avalon. So
yeah, well, I was always agnostic, right? I was always skeptical of religion. I was also pretty like clearly you can watch my old shows. I was anti the mainstream religions too, but I always said, well, maybe there's a chance that they're true. But I also said, look, if Christianity is true, then God is just a scumbag, basically the Calvinist route, basically. But yeah. So what's your issue with anti-theism?
I mean, I'm not gonna become off as maybe eloquent as like you, Reese, or pretty much anybody you've like had on the channel. Because as I said, I'm not a unit. I don't have like a master's degree or anything or bachelor's. I have an associate's. I mean, I dropped out and stuff, but
Yeah, no, we're anti-elitist though. This channel's anti-elitism.
yeah,
Like if
I mean,
you could pop off, you could pop off in a debate for sure. I mean, so
I'm. I mean, I remember the MMI drama. I didn't really watch the whole debate and stuff, but I remember hearing about that.
yeah, that debate was so unbelievably I guess just unbelievably toxic and scandalous that it's still unless like it or it's still private. I need to get time to actually sanitize that before it could even be re-uploaded. That's how bad it was. I mean, criminal allegations levied without any evidence, unbelievable. So yeah, no, it was an absolute shit show. And of course, he left the internet after that debate. So because I exposed him as a vicious racist, and
I
he
was
had no
surprised.
doubt.
I was surprised to find out he was like Asian or something. I thought he was just a
Yes,
white.
South Korean. Yeah, no, that guy
Yeah.
is an absolute scumbag, 100% scumbag, and it's proof you don't have to be a white supremacist to hate black people. You could also be what, like a Korean supremacist or whatever the fuck, and still hate black people. So
Well, I mean, I don't know if you remember Amos Yee at all. I don't know if like from a couple years ago. I mean, he was that Singaporean that got in trouble and
wait, who?
for Amos Yee and stuff.
No, I never saw that.
He was some Singaporean who got in trouble in Singapore for criticizing the Quran and I think Jesus and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
okay.
he got some passport here to the States, but people started realizing he was promoting some pretty terrible shit like pedophilia and stuff. And he would say that only like upper class or like highly intelligent people should be allowed to vote with high IQs or something along those lines.
Oh, that's
I
pretty
think
lame.
I think he was in like Chicago. I think I've actually seen him a couple of times, but I heard he was like arrested recently or something. So maybe he's going to get deported back to Singapore.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess so. We haven't actually gotten into the anti-theism necessarily yet. So I guess make your
Well,
case.
I'm gonna like start doing that about now. To wanna yeah. I wouldn't say I fully disagree with you. I mean, I don't think it's good to necessarily believe in it. I mean, you, for example, I mean, you should, for your own benefit, you should believe the sun rises in the morning and the moon sets at night. I mean, and that's not a reference to that Grayson crap. That's just
if you go outside and it's bright, you'll see this thing sun. Or if it's dark, you'll see this thing called the moon. That's the meme. That's the meme. Dude, go outside. Dude, go outside. So of course we spoofed it. Now it's like, dude, go outside. If you look down, you'll see this thing grass. If you look up, you'll see this thing sky. Because he can't spell, right? So he just uses your. You are. See this thing sun.
debate with a V. It's like how the opposite of how the Romans would when they would do Hebrew names and stuff. Were,
oh yeah, no, it's a shit show. Did you see my debate with him by any chance in the Mr. Made mode?
I
Mr.
watched
Made
that.
Man?
I mean, when he was going on camera, just disgusting.
Yeah, it's been described as the worst stream to have ever been dropped on the internet. Like, because the first 20 minutes was dismal. I couldn't even make out half of what that guy was saying, and then Grayson.
I don't know if that was Kanzik in the beginning with the
I thought
voice
it
or
was.
with. Yeah, I couldn't tell either or. I mean, but I think that when it comes to like religion, I mean, I guess it does provide somewhat of a moral framework for people. I mean, because I mean, there's some people that are just, well, I mean, obviously you talked about IQ. I'm dealing with some nervousness too because I don't do a lot of live streams either. So I apologize if I don't sound fully together there.
Yeah, no, yeah, I can hear what you're saying. I can hear what you're saying. It's all good. So,
I mean, I look
yeah.
to it like, religions like, say, Judaism today, Judaism, Buddhism, like it's a more secularized than it was, say like
Mm,
2000 years ago.
yeah, you can say that, but then there are religious communities in both of those groups that are deeply ingrained orthodox, incredibly misogynist, and in the case of Buddhism, will straight up, burn down families and persecute families of those that happen to have a different religion. Look at what's happening in Western Myanmar, for example, with the
I've
Rohingya
heard of
people.
that.
So,
Mhm.
so no, Buddhism is actually like Buddhist Orthodox,
There is
conservative.
still
They tend
some
to
of
be
the
very violent. They tend to be very violent. So,
I'm well, there's still some like that veneration of that, Eastern mysticism and some stuff, but you can even almost say that Buddhism is the one religion that isn't even a religion, it's more of a philosophy. I don't know
I
if
would
you
disagree with that, me a little bit. It really depends on what you mean by, you know, the concepts of basically achieving what is the term in that? Basically nirvana or whatever the hell. Yeah, it
Yes,
depends.
I fully
It
like
does.
disagree with things like karma, nirvana, samsara, being reincarnated, reborn again. But I think that too is also sort of from its progenitor being Hinduism, of course,
Yeah.
because yeah, obviously the first, well, maybe, according to them, there's been more Buddhists before him, but the one who founded Buddhism was an Indian guy named Siddhartha Gautama, not that. And contrary to, if you took a religions class, you would know that that fat, Chinese guy you see, he's not the Buddha. It was actually some skinny Indian guy. That's
Yeah. Yeah. So So would you say that to have a moral framework, a viable moral framework, you necessarily have to have the idea, I guess, of transcendental observation, the idea that God is watching you even when nobody else is? Do you believe that you have to have the fear of the afterlife to compel good behavior in this life? Or do you believe that morality can be based on rationality and empathy and humanism?
I would say a bit of both and stuff. I think because it would.
Yeah.
There are some people that obviously aren't the most, bright and stuff, and I think sometimes things like religion can help. I'm not trying to sound like MMI or anything, but just I guess it would help keep them in check in some way.
But why can't the law do that in a secular society? Why do you need to
Well,
have a sky gun?
that's for things that are already legal, but like, just, doing things like screwing somebody over, just, taking credit for thing like, something with legal loopholes that people can get away
Yeah,
with.
but that raises the question then, why is there such a propensity of assholes in the religious community then? Because it didn't stop people from being terrorists and being thugs and being manipulators and being, all manner of nefarious. And sometimes they'll do it in the name of God, like terrorism, but other times they'll straight up say, no, what they're doing is wrong. They'll apologize to their God or whatever, but they'll keep doing it. They'll keep doing it. That's the meme. Like, go out and murder somebody, pray for forgiveness from Jesus. Next day, go out and murder somebody again. That's the meme. So religion doesn't actually stop people from being assholes, right? So why keep it around?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously something like Islam, I would, it's obviously the bottom of the barrel when it
Well, but
comes to
that's easy. That's easy. I'm talking about Christianity, right? Like, because I think it's easy to recognize the most extreme and say, well, of course, okay, but even ones that seem tame, even Mormonism results in a lot of suicides each year from homophobia, for example, and transphobia. So, I guess my question first off, to kind of gauge where you're coming from, are you personally religious? What's your religious affiliation?
I would say agnostic atheist. Some people, I mean, I know people like Reece and stuff say, oh, he's, excuse, I don't know if I could say, the P word or something, on here. I don't know if you're worried about that.
Wait. Which word is that? Because we got to watch out for a lot of the gamer words and stuff on YouTube and Twitch. So, um,
The P word, like for, a woman's thing.
oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. That's not like a, racial slur or whatever the fuck, but yeah.
Yeah,
I,
obviously, it's, a puss here. So I use the terms like interchangeably, agnostic, atheist. I mean, I think probably in recent, I would say I'm culturally Christian and stuff like that. I guess maybe
uh,
maybe it's just the influence from my family and stuff like that that I've become like a little bit more and stuff. I mean, that's when I was making the whole like argument about Judaism being a more of a secular religion and that they don't necessarily believe in Yahweh or any of that stuff anymore. They just, look at some of these stories because it's part of their history and stuff. And
well, but they're different. Like there are Reformed Jews, there are also Orthodoxy. It varies, right? There are a lot of people that like would call themselves Jews, identify with Judaism, that are very
I mean,
conservative.
there are some Jews that absolutely do need some criticism for some of their toxic beliefs there. But I mean, it's ironic enough, I mean, even though a lot of Jewish people today aren't nowhere near as like bad as something like say Christians or Muslims, but a lot of the misogynistic stuff, it comes out of the Old Testament in a lot of
That's right.
ways.
Well, and Judaism was kind of like the father, the progenitor of, all the Abrahamic faiths, and they're all derivative of Judaism. So, to the extent that there are still people that go about the Old Testament style stuff, it's like okay, but they spawned over 3.5 billion people doing that. So it's like half of the world basically is in that legacy right now. So
that is a bit of a pickle too, because we know that Judaism is an ethno religion, being both an ethnicity and a religion, and criticizing Judaism, people can make that false equivalence of being anti-Semitic.
oh yeah, I got called an anti-Semite today, for example, which is funny because like I'm a big supporter of Israel. I'm a big supporter of secular Jews, that kind of stuff.
I do remember
I'm
that
just
thing with.
against
I know.
religion.
I remember Delilah calls you an anti-Semite. And
Oh
stuff
yeah, no,
too.
she's a brainlet. She's a brainlet. She has some growing up to do, honestly, and she doesn't know what she's talking about. So she's welcome to debate me, but I doubt that she will. And I think that she's going to look back on this era of basically calling herself an elitist and everything as incredibly cringy and out of touch, even in 2 years. I mean,
Well,
she has some growing up to do.
I knew she was a brainlet when she said, Kerry or Gore would have gone into Iraq and stuff. So,
well, Kerry was a disgrace. Kerry opposed the Iraq War. Kerry was think about this. Kerry would have been a worse president than Donald Trump. Think about that. And Donald Trump was a Russian asset. That's how bad Kerry was. Like if you said to me, who would you rather have, John Kerry or Donald Trump? Well, at least Donald Trump's going to pull out of the Iran deal. Everything else is going to suck. But John Kerry, everything else is going to suck, and he's going to do the Iran deal. So,
yeah, that's why I supported Bush in 04.
based. Okay. Well, there's some common ground. I was rooting for Bush. I remember, when Bush went into Iraq and everything. I remember that. I thought that John Kerry was a goof. So, and I still think that.
Well, yeah, I'm from, for a long time, I think it's because of the brainwashing and stuff here. I live in Chicago. Obviously, it's a very, blue city. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced similar things, if not worse, in Vancouver, where, I mean, I've been surrounded by people that have grown up watching Bill Maher and Michael Moore, make the same anti-Iraq war arguments. Like these people, like they would watch Bill Maher with their parents and stuff like that.
Oh God, yeah, no, a generation of kids that grew up getting their history from Michael Moore and their news from Bill Maher and Russia Today. That's a recipe for absolute cringe and total disaster. And yeah, I've never been to Chicago before. I'd like to go. I used to want to live in Chicago when I was a kid. I want to be an architect. I like a lot of the architecture that you guys got over there. A lot of that, classic American, basically like Renaissance style, middle 20th century architecture. I think that stuff is based.
Yeah, it's
And
it's like the Rust Belt and stuff. I mean,
yeah,
obviously,
no, I actually I like a lot of that style and everything. It's pretty cool. I also like a lot of the Art Deco stuff that they got in New York too.
our
I don't want to be
skyways,
an architect. Yeah, I don't want to
our
be an
skyways
architect
are pretty nice.
anymore.
Well,
Yeah, I don't want to be an architect anymore. I think that politics is more important in everything, but Chicago is an absolutely base city aesthetically, but there's a lot of governmental problems over there. And the Kerry stuff, the Obama stuff, it's cringy. It's cringy. So
yeah, I mean, the last couple of presidential candidates. I mean, Obama and stuff. Hillary Clinton were from Illinois and stuff like that. I mean, Obama, he was born in Hawaii, but he was a senator here, and I remember him. Actually, I probably know him better. I knew him better more than the people that voted for him in '08 because we've had him longer here than and everybody in the country.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So what do you think of Hillary Clinton? Because Hillary Clinton's one of the only Democrats I like. So
I mean, like I said, I don't really appreciate obviously some of the, cringy, third wave feminism, Black Lives Matter stuff, but she was essentially way more rational than Trump, which is why I, voted for her. I mean, obviously at the time I was like, liberal and stuff like that, very liberal Democrat, probably because I was in university and stuff. I
yeah.
mean, I was even like a bit of a Bernie bro for a time, but even though I was like, I think deep down on the inside, it was just making me chafe and stuff because, well, obviously university people do things to like impress people, you know, women or whatever. You get the picture.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's bring it back to anti-theism. So I guess continue with your case there because I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that you need to have religion to have a moral society together. I think if you need to coerce people to not be psychopaths by scaring the shit out of them that they're going to burn in hell for forever if they don't be good, those people were already shitty to begin with. So that's my view of it.
I would essentially say, like, I think everyone, even though some people would, think that are maybe a bit arrogant, not that are afraid of doing something like, bad, even if even if it is legal, everybody has a fear. If you screw somebody over, you should always be prepared for who or whatever the maker is, he, she.
Okay, but my point is that you shouldn't need an ethereal, transcendental observer to to be watching you in order to compel good behavior. You should just be a good person. That morality exists independent of whether or not you're going to burn in hell for forever. I'm not buying it, and I don't think we're making any real ground on this particular issue. So I think I'm going to move it a little bit because I think what it ultimately comes down to is that you said in the intro sort of stage when I asked you that you call yourself agnostic atheist, which was what I called myself up until the Natalie Avalon stuff. The thing is, you can probably recognize, though, even if you're not comfortable admitting that there's nothing out there, you can probably admit that Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are not correct. Even if there is a creator, it's not what it says in the Bible, right? You can probably admit that the Bible's not
Well,
true, right?
I admit it's not correct and stuff, but I'm just
Okay,
saying
so that's what leads me to the next point then. If you know it's not true, then the only reason you would keep it around is if you felt that there was a net positive from it, even if it's not true. And if there's a net negative, then you'd say, okay, it should be discarded because not only is it untrue, it's also harmful. My view is that these religions are actually harmful, that for all the charity and all this kind of stuff that people can point to, no, the misery, the cultures of shame, the wars, the persecution, the Holocaust, all this stuff throughout the centuries and millennia, it so vastly outweighs any slight good that can come from it that you could, of course, have a secular alternative for anyway. That I say, well, it's a net negative, let's get rid of it. So, do you believe that Christianity, for example, is a net positive, or do you think it's a net negative in the scope of history?
Well, I just want to touch on one thing when it came to the Holocaust. Well, I mean, one of the, the instigators of the Holocaust was, Germanic, ethnic supremacy, coupled in with, Catholicism, mainly because Hitler was, whether he, whether or not he actually believed it or not, or at least utilized it, a Catholic and stuff to,
Well, yeah, but that's Christianity, right? I mean, they had their belts that said God is with us. Like they were deeply ingrained in the whole idea that God was with the National Socialist Party, right? And they were happy to work with the Vatican, for example. So they weren't like some secular or some
yeah, I
like
know. Well, even to this
anti-
day, the Vatican has not, what is the word, excommunicated Hitler
No,
from.
they won't. They won't. They won't. I mean, they would sooner. They can't. I mean, this is the same organization that pays the legal bills of child rapists. So of course they're not going
I think too, it's
to
also the period of time too, as well as a little bit of fear, because like, oh, it took you this long to, you know, disavow Hitler. Like it's been like 70, 80 years. Because I think
well,
they would feel,
better
that
now
would
than
make them.
never.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. They should just do it now than never. I mean, they had to apologize for the crap they did to Galileo and his belief on the solar system.
Oh yeah, no, the Catholic Church has been an absolute disgrace, and that's the largest denomination by far in Christianity. I mean, most Christians are Catholic, so
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah.
so you can't really say, oh well, that's just Catholicism. It's like okay, but Catholicism is most of Christianity in the world, so.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
So, so do you think it's a net positive in the scope of history or a net negative?
I'd say it's a bit of a mixture of both and stuff. I mean, we didn't
It
have.
can't. No, no, no. It literally can't because on the whole, on the system level, it's either going to be net negative, neutral, or net positive. It's almost certainly not going to be exactly neutral. That would be very hard to quantify, but you can probably gauge throughout the scope of history if it's a net positive or a net negative. So it's going to be one of those two. So, are you making the case that on the whole, despite the flaws, it's still worth keeping around, or that it's been on the whole, what would you call it, a liability to humanity?
I mean, I'm gonna, I probably will like acknowledge, I do have somewhat of a biases because I have grown up a bit into like a Catholic family. Maybe maybe there's a part of me that doesn't want to like, you know, like hurt my parents or something like
No,
that
I
in a way.
got you. I got you. I got you. But we got to debate anti-theism. I got to ask you here to engage some degree of that impartial rationality and step back and say, look, if you were born in Karachi, would you have that same affinity for Catholicism? Probably not. Probably not. You probably wouldn't. So if it's based on geography, then it can't be the true religion of the universe, right? So.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, obviously, it's not just Catholicism, but I think religion did sort of keep people in check when the science, we didn't really investigate the world around us. Science was nowhere near advanced as it was today and stuff, and people were like dying of polio and stuff.
Yeah, but you just cited the Galileo thing. You know for a fact that religions were persecuting scientists who did try to pull us out of those dark times. So religion has held us back,
Yeah,
actually.
I mean,
Like
yeah,
we'd
I
have
mean,
way
I'm not
better
gonna lie,
technology.
they
We'd
did
have
stuff to
way
scientists. Yeah,
Yeah, we'd have
I
way
mean,
better technology today. I mean, there might have been a chance that we would have had televisions by the 1700s if it wasn't for religion. So,
mhm. Well, I mean, it did sort of soothe some people, like I guess, if they were dying and stuff like that. But I mean, obviously things like,
mm,
the Crusades and shit were terrible.
I guess my question is Christianity, scope of history, net positive or net negative?
Mm. Oh gosh, I really am in a bind here. I'd say, all right, I guess I'll say it's a little more negative than positive. I'll say that then.
Okay, so also
I'll
Christianity
say
true.
60% negative, 40% positive, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I would disagree with the ratio, but we agree on the sign of it, that it's a negative sign. So that leads me to the next question. Is it true? Like, is the scripture true or is it false?
It's false.
So it's false and it's a net negative. We both agree there. So then the only question to debate now is, why are you advocating for keeping it around and I'm not? Shouldn't we both agree that it belongs in the history books, a mythology?
Mm. Well, I think that's sort of maybe I don't even know what I seek. Maybe sort of seek that to preserve it at least in some form because people want to. Maybe I do think there is some kind of benefit to the stories and stuff. I mean,
Mm.
obviously,
Well, here's the problem, right? Here's an analogy. Here's an analogy. I'm not saying it's a perfect analogy, but it's a close one. Is the ideology of the Confederacy a good thing or a bad thing? We both agree it's a bad thing, right? And
yes.
yeah, and was the Confederacy a net positive or a net negative? Well, you'd say, well, if you were a slave owner, maybe it was pretty good, but then what about all the slaves? Obviously, it was a net negative, not to mention the morals. So you know that the racialized ideology of it is bad and wrong, and you know that it's also harmful. So why would you? We wouldn't be advocating to keep the Confederacy around. There are some people though that are willing to admit that slavery was bad and that the ideology is wrong, but they'll still say, oh, but it's about heritage, so let's keep these flags around and stuff and statues. It's like, okay, but you could have those in museums. You could have Christianity and mythology books. Why do we need it to have it around as an active force in public life? Why do we need to have it around in society if we know it's a net negative and we know it's not true? Same with the Confederacy. We know it's a net negative and we know that the ideology isn't true. Why would we keep it around, right? It's the same with North Korea. It's a net negative. It's not to say that everything about North Korea is bad. If you're Kim Jong Un, it's pretty good, right? It's that's the thing, right? It's not to say that everything about Christianity is bad. If you're one of those priests and you get off on touching little kids, maybe your utility is maximized. But to everybody else, it's a stain on our existence. So why should we then keep it around? Because all that I'm hearing so far are just appeals to emotion, and I don't see those as compelling, honestly. So, but I've talked a lot. I'll let you try to make your case now. So,
Yeah. Oof. I think I need a freaking water. Yeah, I mean, maybe deep down, I think I'm probably just advocating for that, and I don't even realize it. Maybe I just want to preserve, like story, maybe the stories in some form. But at the same time, I'm even because like I said, I did not like prepare exactly for this. I don't know if you have at all. Maybe you just
uh, yeah, I do minimal preparation on topics that I'm confident with. I'm not gonna tell everybody out there who's watching who might debate me exactly what my prep regimen is. On stuff like this, I don't really need to do that much research because I'm fairly confident on it. I know we had about a week and a half or so, whatnot, to kind of prepare for it. Nowhere near as long as I had to prepare for the Dylan Burns debate. Obviously, I did a hell of a lot more research for the Dylan Burns debate last year. So this was minimal prep on my part. I gotta say, I mean, look, I think the memes and everything are really good, but don't take this the wrong way. But I gotta ask you, because I would have made this kind of argument when I was in university. Like I wrote papers, from like the North Korean perspective and stuff and everything. I did Model United Nations, a lot of devil's advocacy there. Like, are you arguing here as devil's advocacy for it? Because you don't actually need to do devil's advocacy for religion just because there's some anti-theists on YouTube. There are plenty of honest to God Christians out there that will do apologetics for religion. You don't actually need to do that. You could just straight up become an anti-theist and we're still the underdogs, right? Like we are the underdogs. They're not the underdogs. They have like what, 2 and some odd billion people. We have a few YouTubers and Twitter people. So, you know, so is it devil's advocacy, or is this like your genuine belief that Christianity and religion in general do provide some value and should stick around?
Well, I mean, maybe I'm just not as confident. Maybe I want to say that maybe religion would act as a fail safe for, I guess, some people. I'm not. Yeah.
But what do you mean by a fail safe? Because anything, my argument is anything good from it can come from secular alternatives, but a lot of the bad can't. Like it's kind of hard to see secular terrorism and suicide bombers. It's possible, but it's a lot harder to get that kind of thing to happen without
I mean, yeah,
religious
I'm sure there are like secular suicide, but they're nowhere near as level as religious ones. I'm not gonna disagree with that.
Yeah. Oh no. I mean, you could say. I mean, some of the military teachings and stuff do. Depending on the level that you're in, some of the special forces guys do train for suicide missions and stuff. Especially back in the Cold War, there'd be guys that would train to drop out of planes with low yield suitcase nukes strapped to their backs, land close to an enemy depot, and detonate. Those guys were on a suicide mission. Was that necessarily motivated by religion? No, that was mostly motivated by democracy. But yeah, religion was obviously used there too, to appeal to people's Christian sensibilities. But
Well, I mean, it worked. I guess in the sense of like further training. I guess in some ways, religion. I guess because being able to like risk your life like that, like run toward fire and stuff like that. I mean, I remember even once talking to like a campus security like officer about like he had this thing where he would say like I mean, most people they run away from gunfire and stuff. If somebody starts shooting, I have to go run at it, like a crazy person or something.
Yeah, well, I haven't been sold yet, and I gotta say, I mean, obviously, the job in a debate, you're not trying to win me over. I'm not even necessarily trying to win you over. The job of the debate is just to convince the audience that might be on the fence because we both have our positions.
I mean,
I don't think the
people do.
audience, I don't think the audience is going to be swayed by these. So hopefully you got some better arguments for anti-theism because I'm not seeing it. Everything that you've said so far basically is conceded to the anti-theist points that it's not true and it's also a net harm. Therefore, it's not sufficient to just tolerate it. You have to actually oppose it and say, no, I can recognize that it's a net harm. Therefore, I would like to have generations down the road be able to grow up free from the yoke of that monstrosity. So that would be my view on this.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's hard because, like I said, hard for me to put words together. But I mean, I guess people do like to delude themselves a little bit. I mean, take somebody who was like a victim of sexual assault when they're younger. I mean, they don't want to they like to pretend sometimes in their mind that didn't happen and stuff. They want to not go back to that.
Wait, I don't know where this is going. I don't. You're gonna have to actually like explain what you mean.
Well, people, like somebody who was like a victim of like sexual assault and stuff, sometimes they like to pretend like it never happens so that they can, have some confidence in their life and stuff like that so they can accomplish some things.
Okay, but what does this have to do with anti-theism?
I guess it has to deal with like a sense, maybe a little bit of diluting yourself a little bit to an extent. I mean,
okay, but if the parents didn't want their kids to get deluded into the Catholic teaching, then their kids wouldn't have gotten raped by the Catholic priests. So it kind of seems like religion is the problem there, and the delusion is the problem. And that if it wasn't for this grand delusion, this big lie, that there wouldn't have been so much child molestation. So, which the Catholic Church pays the legal fees of those who commit it. And that's just one religion.
Oh man, I'm stooped.
Yeah, Buchanan Brigade's just saying, just say religion is a net positive and have a debate. Like, because if you don't say it's a net positive, the funny thing is we're actually mostly agreeing right now, which leads me to think, I don't know, is your rejection of anti-theism just for contrarianism or what? Because your argument seems to be, well, it gives some people some hope and this kind of thing, or it helps them to numb the pain. My point is that a lot of that pain wouldn't even be there if it wasn't for religion. So, like, think about it. A lot, like, there have been documentaries that are done on this, a lot of studies and stuff out there. There was a really good movie a few years back about some journalists over in Massachusetts that uncovered a massive Catholic sex scandal of like priests and stuff. A lot of those kids actually grew up to either be totally traumatized or just straight up kill themselves. But then the argument is, well, religion might help them cope with being a victim of sexual assault. It's like, okay, but if it weren't for religion, they wouldn't have been a victim of sexual assault. That priest wouldn't have been there to molest them. They would have been learning about math or something in school, or playing Fortnite with their friends. Instead, it's subjected to being taught that they're going to burn in hell if they masturbate, and then a priest goes and molests them when they're like 6 years old. So, like, because if you can't say that religion is a net positive, then we're ultimately in agreement, and your hesitancy to embrace anti-theism at that point, it ultimately seems like maybe you're just uncomfortable with the label, because you've made an anti-theist argument. You've said it's not true and it's also a net harm. So, I mean, it's kind of like I
Well,
won.
like I said,
So.
when I came on here, I thought, if I, because like I mentioned before how Judaism has been secularized and stuff. They don't really believe in a lot.
Some, a lot of Orthodox Jews out there.
But I'm saying that this, it can be done for like religion like Christianity, for example. I mean, it's smaller than Judaism, but there is a very small like secular Christian population.
That's cringy, though. I did a video on why progressive Christians enable fundamentalism, because they're identifying with scripture and that religion,
Well,
giving
I
more
wouldn't call them
numbers.
I wouldn't call them progressive. I mean, they're secular. That's something entirely different.
Yeah, but secular Christianity is a meme. Why not just, like, to me, at that point, you're just enabling the fundamentalists. You're already upholding the word of God, which is literally the fundamentalists are correct about. So as long as you identify as Christian, you basically have to be a fundamentalist. Otherwise, you're just going to go to hell anyway. So, like, the fundamentalists are 100% correct in their interpretation of scripture. The problem is that I have with them isn't that they're wrong about what the Bible says. It's that the Bible isn't true, right? So, like, if the Bible was true, then you'd be a fundamentalist Christian, right? Yeah, everybody just be like Calvinists and stuff. But no, I really think that so far I haven't seen a compelling case. I think I've won. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else you've got, but if you got any other points, definitely feel free, because I'm not seeing a good case against anti-theism here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, it does seem like you have made like better arguments to me. I mean, the only thing I've kind of really said is how like there are secularized religions, like well, I mean, of course, you said it times before, the Orthodox Judaism and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think I could like come across. I mean, I come across. Maybe I would even almost say I would have lost the argument, the debate, or
Yeah. So basically, what you mean to say is that I won the debate.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I'm not bitter about it. Like I said, I
no,
never
and
expected to
it's
be.
not like a gotcha or anything. Like, look, I'll take it. I'll take a win, and we can move on. So,
The only thing
where
I
can
could.
the people? Yeah, where can the people find you before we wrap this up? So,
mean, there was also the Jimmy Dore thing, but I don't know, maybe some other time. But I don't know. I guess you could follow me on at Gagsley on Twitter unless that account ever gets nuked. I'm going to try to probably watch what I say and avoid conflicts with people.
No, I'm down.
But at least I admit,
yeah,
like I'm wrong. Like a lot of people that come on the channel or something. So.
Oh no, for sure. Some people they're
I'm not 100% convinced with you, but I would say you've you won the debate at least. I would say because you've presented better arguments than me.
Okay. Yeah, no, and I mean that takes maturity to be able to admit that, because there are people that I've debated where like they know in their head that like it's over and they can't admit it. So they just bitch and twitch. And that's always sad to see. You always hate to see it. But then you got times like this where it's like you love to see it. So, this has been pretty good. And I am down to do a separate debate. I think it'll be a more contentious debate over the Jimmy Dore stuff. I'm down to do that. But this one will stand for itself on anti-theism. That's what everybody was expecting tonight. We'll do the Jimmy Dore thing another time. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Yep.
Could always, like I said, DM me about it. We can discuss. We can do that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not gonna have like the follower count, but obviously, I guess my payment is all the memes and fucking pictures I get.
Yeah, there's.
I guess that will be my payment for debates.
A lot of memes. So
I'll just make
we don't actually
pictures.
charge for debates anymore. There's no charging for debates or anything for like almost a year now, but it is a meme. So you got a lot of memes. So this has been the adventures of Kevin and Reece. And I've been Kevin Castley, of course. You can follow me over on Twitter at Kevin Castley. Be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet. I do daily content. You can also check me out over on Twitch and on Facebook. Links are in the description below. You want to support what I do, check me out over on Ko-Fi, PayPal, and Patreon. And I will be back here in about 5 minutes for a brief post show to kind of go over my performance and everything, as I do after every debate. And with that, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thanks to the adventures of Kevin and Reece for coming here and debating tonight. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everybody, and stay based.